Hello and welcome to the Cornwall Hospice Care podcast, Two Old Choughs, the tale of two hospices. I'm Tamsin Thomas.
And I'm Gina Stones.
And today we're going trekking, Mrs.
Fantastic, can't wait.
Where would you like to go?
Anywhere, where you go?
So have you on your bucket list any place in the world you'd love to go and explore?
I think for me, I love to, the mountains are a big pull for me. So I'm very envious of my husband who's going off to Nepal, and that would be my idea of a proper trekking area, I think.
And why? Why would you do it?
I think for me it's that kind of challenge. I think it's a challenge, and it's also the huge difference to our daily lives, and that looking at how people live their lives. And it's just that amazing feeling, I think it would be, of that comparison between the two.
And for me, because we're going to be talking about a trek I've just done, it's about making memories. It's about that experience that you have, in my case, with my daughter, but also that shared experience with people you may never have met before.
I think it's the people that you meet make it, don't they, as well?
100%, as you're going to find out.
That.
Yes. So I should explain that we're not just recording this for Cornwall Hospice Care. We can proudly say that we're going to be talking about Strathcarron Hospice and Highland Hospice, two of the hospices in Scotland. And the reason is that I've just been on an amazing trek up into the Arctic Circle, where we had our own husky teams, and we sledded. And I went with my eldest daughter because I wanted to make memories with her. I don't think I truly appreciated how extreme parts of it would be. I don't camp, let me say. So when we were in the tent on the first night, it was minus 21. I lay there thinking, I might have misjudged this somewhere along the line. But like you do, we formed bonds. It was really interesting. We all got on very well. And very quickly it became obvious there were 5 of us on the trek who were doing it in support of hospices. There always is, isn't there? I don't know why, but on these adventures you always find someone like that. And I thought it would be interesting at the end of the trek to talk to them about why they'd done it and a little bit about their hospices and their motivation. Because then I thought we could introduce Oli, who's our head of fundraising, and just talk a bit more about how the treks benefit us, but can also benefit the charity as well. So we were at the very end of the trip. We were in Kiruna Airport in the very top of Sweden, and there was no one else in the airport when we started the recording, because it's not that big an airport. We came through there having come through Stockholm. And we just got in the corner and we had a chat, so we'll have a listen and then we can pick up on some of the themes.
Hi, I'm Gordon. I'm from Falkirk. I'm supporting Strathcarron Hospice. Hospice that's been going for about 40 years. There's a local community just in the Central Belt, and it's very well known in the community, and everyone kind of knows what they are. I don't really have a connection directly to the hospice. I just find that it's one of these things that everyone knows someone, whether it be an auntie, uncle, friend of that who has maybe used it. And I think that's kind of enough to kind of help support it. So.
I'm Sam, I'm Gordon's wife, also obviously support Strathcarron Hospice. We set a target to raise £14,500 because that's how much it costs a day to run the hospice. We only started in November and we just had it confirmed today that we've actually hit our target, so we're really pleased. And that will support all the outpatient services, the inpatient services and all the things that they offer in the community as well.
And is the fact that it's a very local charity important to you? Because neither of you have that connection, as you said, but is it because it's the local charity on your doorstep doing good for the community?
Yeah, we just want to do a little bit of good in the world, I think, and that's why we do it. So I think everyone needs to be a bit kind, and there could be a day that we need to use that service. When we're out, we do get a lot of people coming up to us and telling us their stories, and they think we work there. They pour their hearts out for a few minutes and then they go away, and it's really touching to hear their stories. And recently one lady did come up to me. She looked a bit teary. She put in her money and walked away, and then she's like, oh, I might be there one day, and went away. So it does really, you don't think about these things, you take it for granted that you've got your health, but I think it's important for the community to support.
It's a privilege, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so. So I think for me is the big charities. For me, I find, I know it's a bit contradicting, but there's a lot more infrastructure to keep bigger charities running. Whereas I think if it's a smaller charity, I think the money you raise, it's more impactful. So if you raise £100 for a small charity, I think the money is used. It's appreciated, not appreciated more, because it doesn't matter what you raise for anybody. It's really good, but I just find that you can see a difference. I think
you can see it more.
Yeah, just in your head.
Hi, I'm David, and I'm fundraising for the Highland Hospice based in Inverness. The connection for me to the hospice probably goes back to when I was about 16 years old. And even though I was quite young then, my uncle was not well and he was in hospice, and it just stood out for me. I remember I kind of went to visit him kind of towards the end, and the care that he got in the hospice was just outstanding. And that kind of stuck with me. And we've done a few challenges now, myself and Francesca, and this is obviously the latest.
Hi, I'm Francesca. I work for Highland Hospice and I fundraise for Highland Hospice as well. I don't have any personal connection with it because, I'm from Italy, my family is all in Italy, and I've never had a relative with cancer. But I've seen a lot of things working for the hospice for 5 years. I've seen how much it can really change someone's life, not only for our patients, but also for their families, and probably I would say even more for their families, at something that could be considered the most difficult time of their lives. So I've seen the difference it makes, and I find it a really worthy cause to support. That's why, besides working for the hospice, I like to fundraise when I can for it. And Dave and I did a challenge together back in 2019. That's how we met. We became friends, and we've decided to, potentially do a challenge a year, maybe one every 2 years, but I'm changing job actually very, very soon, but the idea of fundraising for the hospice will still be there, and we'll still try and do a challenge a year or a challenge every 2 years whenever we can, because I truly believe it's a good thing to do.
Well, we've all just collectively been on a very extreme adventure. I mean, a truly extreme adventure. We've become a really close unit. I think I've shared with you that I'm here with my daughter because I want to make memories while I'm still I'm not planning on dying, by the way, but while I'm alive, I want to make memories with my grown-up children, rather than leave them memories, which is really important. But what drove you to come and do this? Because we've been in the wilderness, basically, living madly.
Yeah, and I think it is that. So I'm quite outdoorsy. I like to kind of get away from it. I like to get off the grid. Francesca took a wee bit more convincing to kind of come out of her comfort zone, but it was that. Obviously, we're doing a great thing with the fundraising, and then it's the challenge bit to go with that. So I kind of wanted to come out here and just be really challenged, kind of physically, mentally, to get through it. Yeah.
And for you too?
For us, I think I was more the driving force because we got married in the middle of lockdown in 2020. And obviously with marriage comes starting a family, and I was really desperate for us to do things together to bond, and then after we would have a family. So we were actually meant to be doing a cycle from Vietnam to Cambodia last November, which unfortunately we had to change, and when we were discussing our wedding, we were thinking about having a summery holiday and a wintry holiday, and as soon as we saw this challenge we thought we need to do it. and it's just been the best fun. It's been really tough at times, but I feel like we've really thrown ourselves into it, and we've gotten closer as well.
It's not a honeymoon, is it?
No, it's not very romantic in bits, but I think for me, like I say, I'm outdoorsy as well. I do a lot of climbing and stuff like that, and I love to kind of put myself in situations where something different. I'm not your sitting by a beach or anything. I like to experience things, explore things, buy horrible fridge magnets from places I've been, and and I just think that just the whole, because you're doing obviously just the huskying, but it's also the looking after them and seeing exactly what it takes to run the thing as a whole, and then obviously it's the survival aspect of being in extreme cold and thinking about it, and I think it's quite therapeutic to think about, what have I got that I need and stuff like that. So and it's just the fact to do it with Sam as well has been amazing, because she's going to be able to experience it as well, and we can kind of like go off each other and stuff like that. And as I say, we've met some amazing people, and it's been great.
How was it, given you weren't that keen then?
I was very curious to find out how it was, and I was, it was that extreme that I kind of wanted to do it, but I really didn't know if I could have done it, because it's not just out of my comfort zone, it's really, really, really out of my comfort zone. So it took my friend Dave to insist quite a bit to get me on board, but I don't regret it at all. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to go home today, but I am really, really happy that I did it, and I'm happy that I didn't quit, because it was that extreme to me that I really thought on day 3 that I could have happily gone home, and I'm so happy that I didn't actually. So
I interviewed one of our doctors from our hospice the other day who's doing the London Marathon, and they'd done a half marathon, and she'd been running alongside the head of fundraising, who said, I can't finish it, it's hurting. And she said, it's not hurting as much as our patients sometimes hurt. And when I was walking up the hill behind the sled and the Huskies, because they just couldn't pull me and my daughter, I kept thinking that, come on, you can't complain because there's someone in a worse position than you. It's motivation in a way.
Absolutely.
This is a really difficult question. What was the highlight for you? There's so many, but can you pick one moment out that will be a memory for you?
Moments-wise, I think I enjoyed every single moment. Even when it was minus 14 and you're sitting in the tent absolutely freezing, I enjoyed every single part of it. It was a challenge, but the biggest thing that stood out for me, apart from Gordon...
And me calling you Andy for the whole week.
You calling me Andy, yeah, that helped. Apart from the amazing people, the bond that I felt with that team of dogs was just amazing. And I found it really hard to kind of come away from that yesterday. I love animals, I love dogs, etc. But when you're taking care of them all week, you're getting up in the morning, you're feeding them, you're giving them all the love and attention that they need, and then you see them working hard for you. There was something really special about it. So that was great.
And also that moment yesterday where we were all asked to walk away and stand in the wilderness and think, what did this trip mean to us?
Yes.
I've really got emotional.
Yeah, I found that very powerful as well. Yeah, it's just their way of life here is just totally different. We had a good kind of discussion with kind of the head guy around what they do in the season, and they just they do these trips to build for races, etc. And he says, well, none of us are rich here, but in our opinion, me and Gordon were speaking about it with all the guys, they're richer than they know, because it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. It's very difficult living conditions, but they're much richer than a lot of people. You know what I mean?
For you, a highlight?
Not to go into too much detail for the podcast, but at 2 nights in, I had a stomach flu, and unfortunately the decision was made that I had to get pulled out. But within that time where I was waiting to go back to the lodge, I felt that everyone was supporting me. Dave gave me his jacket and some hand warmers because I was inside the sleeping bag inside the main tent. The lead guide lit a fire for me. Everyone was just fussing around me. Gordon was actually physically putting medicine in my mouth, getting liquids in me, trying to get me to eat, just making sure it was okay. And then some of the guys offered to feed my dogs and look after them, and that's something that I really was hoping would happen here, that everyone would come together. And when you're at home and you offer help to someone, like, oh no, it's fine, I don't need help, or you might struggle to ask for help. But this environment was not the environment to be like that. It was like, put your hand up, I need help, and people just did things for you, because we did become a really good team. Also, apart from riding the Huskies, and I got to ride snowmobile a few times. But for me, that was really a moment. And when we got to come back to the camp on the second last day, and when I popped my head in the tent, everyone's like, "Well, Sam," and it just felt really nice, and people were saying welcome back, and it was a really nice feeling.
Yeah. And for you?
I think biggest satisfaction for me was
Dave.
apart from Dave.
Yes, correct answer.
I think I've lost my husband.
and Sam coming back. I think it's like day one, the dogs were like kind of testing you to see what they can get away with and all that kind of stuff, because you're not their proper handler kind of thing. But I think as the days go by, they respect you more. So yeah, that's the big thing for me, you know, to be able to control them and them look at you and go, oh, how you doing? You know, oh, he's back. We're going walking. You know, we're going running and stuff like that. So, just the whole feeling that you've not got control over them, but the kind of respect you there. I mean, the first day when I got them, my dogs were jumping everywhere. They just seemed to be just wild. But by the last day, they were really calm and chilled, and just feel like you're getting somewhere. You know, so that was a big highlight for me.
And for you?
Well, hands down.
You're two very bad Huskies.
Yeah, hands down the bond with the dogs, and with two of them in particular, I have to say. Just looking after them, feeding them, harnessing them, seeing the way they help you to harness, you know, they lift their paw and they help you for that, you know. It's just incredible how I think they are more than dogs, you know. I felt really a human connection there somehow, but it was also very sad to leave them, I have to say. I've tried to kind of suppress all the sadness, but I'm feeling it all just now as I talk about it. And also another thing I wanted to mention is I think this trip has kind of taught me to not really take anything for granted. You know, like I think I will feel blessed every time I will use an indoor toilet for a long time to come. And this weekend when I will go home, I will just have like loads of showers just because I can. And just because I want to, loads of warm showers. So it's nice to go back home with such new knowledge about awareness, not knowledge. Awareness, that's the word.
Someone said, I think one of the guides said at one stage, that it was a bit like a reality TV show. And I sometimes watch them because I'm interested in the dynamics between people. Yeah. And actually there was a hint of something real about that, wasn't there? Because we all faced adversity together. And for me, it was going off grid. My head is in a completely different place. And you said something interesting, which I hope you don't mind me repeating. We were sat in the sauna together and you said, this is not me normally. Mm-hmm. I'm a different man. And I thought, wow, that's massively powerful.
Yeah, totally. It sounds kind of cliche to say it, I suppose, you go away on these kind of life experience challenges, but it does change you. It definitely does change you. Even just how you feel. We're obviously starting to head home now and you're thinking about going back to work and all the bits to go with that, but what I'm trying to kind of keep in my head is how can I go back differently now? So instead of kind of just running about with lists, because I'm terrible for lists of things to do and I've got to tick this off before I feel satisfied in a day. Out here, I've not had my phone for the last week. I've not seen one bit of news. I think it kind of, you want to go back to be different and be better, and I think it has done that.
The other thing is, look at that, there's 5 of us all landed up on an adventure, and a very extreme one, all supporting hospices. And people say, not enough people understand hospices. Yeah. We've talked about it amongst ourselves. How powerful is that? Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to end by asking each of you, you've answered this already, what was the worst thing? Because for me, it was, I've told my family all my life I hate camping. The first time I've ever camped, I choose to do it in -20 or whatever it was, on the side of a frozen lake. Not doing it again.
Same.
I think probably not being able to sleep in the tent garden.
There we go.
It's the biggest thing for me.
We did get a night.
We did get a night. We did get a night. I don't know, toughness-wise. As I say, the wine in the snow was possibly one of the most uncomfortable things we've ever done. So 2 nights ago, myself and Gordon obviously went in the sauna. We're heading into the last day, and we probably were in the sauna for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Built up quite a temperature. We're sitting having a wee drink in the sauna, just talking about the day. And Bella had suggested the best way to get dry, because there wasn't a shower, etc., was to go and roll in the snow. So there is video proof of this, but put it this way, we weren't in the snow for long. So yeah, that was probably one of the kind of tough elements of it as well, for sure. Yeah.
For you?
I think for me, obviously, the first one is that I wasn't well and everything that came with that, but also I was really disappointed that we didn't catch any fish when we were ice fishing, because I was looking forward to eating it for dinner.
Yeah.
Brave girl.
Yeah.
Seeing as how we didn't know what was under that ice. Yeah. For you?
I really found the cold unbearable.
Yes, because you kept saying you're from a hot clime.
I am from a hot clime. My body is genuinely set up to a different kind of temperature. I spent most of my life in the Adriatic coast of Italy, so we have very warm summers. We get to 45 degrees. Our winters aren't very cold at all. The lowest temperature my body had ever been exposed to before to move to Scotland was about 8 degrees. And for like a week a year. So don't get me wrong, living in Scotland for 7 years has toughened me up a little bit, but still, it's not, I wasn't probably quite prepared for that. And also I don't go camping, I don't do anything outdoors because I suffer from the cold, so I like doing different things. And I do go outdoors when the weather is a kind of weather that I enjoy being outdoors with, I didn't find the fitness a huge problem.
I did.
I know some people found the fitness harder work than than bearing the temperatures. For me, it was the exact opposite. It was just the cold that got me completely down. But apart from that, it was an amazing experience, and I will remember it with, very good memories.
Well, I think that you and I would say to you three, because we work for hospices, thank you. Because honestly, without folk like you, whether you've got a connection or not doing what you did, there wouldn't be the hospices. So, I'm recording this for Cornwall Hospice Care. You're from hospices at that furthest end of the country to us, but they all do the same thing and they all achieve the same thing, and it's fabulous. And when I was thinking about doing this recording, I was thinking, how do we end it? Do we just have a group hug, which no one can see on the recording? So I think we should have a group howl, like our Huskies did when they wanted to know that they were all okay. So if you're ready, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, well, if you're wondering what you're listening to, it is actually the Cornwall Hospice Care podcast, which we're sharing with Strathcarron Hospice and Highland Hospice. We are Two Old Choughs, a tale of two hospices, and we're talking about trekking. Why would you not howl?
I think it could be mistaken for Halloween, kind of. Fantastic podcast.
And it is true, one of the highlights was that the Huskies would every so often howl, one, to check in on each other, and secondly, to warn anything nearby that they were there. We were 60 dogs with us, and we never saw any wildlife, because, of course, wildlife was like, well, there's 60 dogs over there, and they didn't come near, but they were such an integral part of the trip, as I'm sure you got the feeling for it. Oli Hoare is our head of fundraising.
Hello.
All the things you heard there must be things that you tell people. This is why doing a trek for a hospice is a good thing.
Absolutely. I've just hearing that, what struck me was one of the first things said, which was someone saying how they didn't really have a connection to the cause, but yet you unpick what they said, and it was about that sense of duty to support something so valued in their community. And I find that extraordinary. I find it quite understandable when someone who has seen how incredible hospice care is and takes that away with them after the loss of a loved one and wants to do something in thanks. I understand that. That's really quite a straightforward response for things in my eyes, and I respect that immensely. And yet there is this other flip side of the coin when someone has... I fundamentally believe hospices are owned by their communities. We're only as good as the community that we serve and that we're within. And for someone to take on such an extraordinary challenge with the financial elements attached to that and the other aspects in having to train and put in copious amounts of effort to get there and do these sorts of things, it's astonishing. And I think it's absolutely incredible. But the sense of camaraderie, sort of coming away from your question and trying to come back to it somewhat, that sense of camaraderie and the experience that will stay with you for life is everything that we try and tell people about the treks and challenges that we do and we have available for people to do. Just a fantastic piece.
And Gordon's and my first conversation really was about, he was explaining they set themselves this challenge of £14,500 to run the hospice for a day. And he'd done that so that at their wedding, he stood up and the first part of his speech was, ladies and gentlemen, while we're here, your money is running that hospice for a day. And I choked up. And tears were rolling down my cheeks. And he said, I thought you worked for a hospice. So I said, I can still be incredibly moved by someone accepting that challenge and making it happen. It's extraordinary.
I think people's support of the organisation and hospices and its cause, it does, I think, all the time. It never fails to amaze me how generous people are, whether it be with their time or with their finances or with their support. It is just, it is amazing. And that was a lovely story for a couple just setting out on their life together.
And then having a honeymoon in the Arctic Circle. But hey, and camping as well. The other thread for me, which is quite interesting, was there was two of us there talking who had found the added benefit, which we didn't know we were going to get, of going off grid.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's. I've sat here taking a few notes from that on my phone. It's forever in my hand, and I think there's such value these days in being able to put yourself into such extraordinary situations and circumstance. And I can't remember which of the chaps said it, but he made comment to, this is their way of life, and we get to move into that and experience that for a week, and then we go again, and we get to take some of those things away. About how there's that sense of achievement and accomplishment, but also respect to oneself, and you try and take things that they've learned and bring it back to their normal lives. So it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And if you can come away with that level of change long term, it's really quite something. It sort of really sticks in the heart, doesn't it?
So is that why we offer treks?
I think so. Our trek. So if we talk a little more broadly beyond treks to overseas challenges, which would encompass overseas cycles or runs, I guess, if you want to go like that, and bring in some of the more domestic things as well, so say Snowdon by night or whatever. For us, we fundamentally we're doing this to fund the care. I can't hide behind that. There is single purpose to the team and what we do. We get up every day to make sure that those caring around that bedside are funded today. That's the be-all and end-all of everything. But what we try to do is to be responsive and respectful to those that we're serving in many respects. And by and large, from our side of things, it's those with a very close personal connection. I was quite struck by how many people had that community feel to this versus the personal side. Fascinating. We're trying to sell experiences and also give someone the opportunity to do something extraordinary and be extraordinary themselves. But also underneath these sort of, if you call it a big ticket event, if you like, because it is so significant, the commitment you give both personally and financially is so much greater than, say, a £10 donation, just trying to be at opposite ends of the scale. We're trying to be a part of that, to build a bond with people and to give them an experience. And I think you have to be honest at that side of the scale. There is an element of bereavement care within that. And that's not necessarily led by us in fundraising. I think it's more of a natural thing that happens when people choose opportunities that might be relevant to a specific date of a loved one, or it might be a mechanism to throw yourself into the grieving process. That sort of is an interesting side of things that has come about, and that's been quite new to me, joining this team 5.5 years ago from other fundraising environments I've come from. And I found that extraordinary to be a part of people's journeys, to have that level of, if there's a contributing element to closure, then that is an absolute privilege to be a part of. It never ceases to amaze me that people say to my team and I, thank you for all that you do. It's like, you are very welcome, but that is due here at this hospice versus in our fundraising office. And bless your heart for saying so, but we do soak it up a bit.
I think as well, Ollie, there's something, isn't there, about you're offering things that people wouldn't necessarily do on their own. And it's that fact, I think, that, and you mentioned in the podcast that you're going as a group for all your different reasons, but there's something that binds you together, and often that's come from the team and setting up your big ticket event. So I think, whether or not you're absolutely doing your midnight walks or your big events, there is something that you think actually you're going with a group of people who get it for whatever reason, and that's really important. And I think it's also really important for people who are grieving or in that bereavement stage, knowing that you can have those conversations about hospice or death and dying or experience, and it's okay. And I think it's a real value added.
Absolutely, and I think, as with so many things in life, if you're able to share an experience with someone who truly understands that has an immense power around it, that it's almost the money can't buy type thing. And that ability to connect with someone at really quite a deep level on a shared pain, given the circumstances which we operate in, it is mind-blowing and a privilege to be a part of, definitely.
As is being on the trek, and that privilege of being with other people, but also the time to share experiences, make the memories, but also to confront things. It catches you unawares, and that there were some beautiful moments. We were sledding across a frozen lake, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and that crystal blue sky. And both Ellen and I at one stage got quite overwhelmed because I just think it was so beautiful. And then, I don't know, you have a little cry, don't you? And you think, why am I having a little cry? But maybe it's because you're thinking, I wish Dad was here or whoever to share that. It's an extraordinary thing. And the other thing that I think is exciting is that we are about to have a home trek, if you like.
We are, yes, absolutely. So my fundraising head will tell you it's a domestic trek, which nobody really knows what that is. So it's
thanks for the honesty.
I can't help myself. So this is a sort of home-brewed trek, a 2-day walk, which is going to take in all aspects of the Saints' Way. So we're going to leave Padstow on the Saturday morning. This is the second weekend in September this year that we're going, and you'll walk through the day, walk into camp halfway on the route, and have a lovely time, dinner, dining, those sorts of things, a couple of drinks, got to be honest, a bit of a celebration at midpoint, and generally feeling good about oneself. And then we will walk out of camp the next morning and continue along the Saints' Way until we arrive at Ready Money Beach down in Foy for the finale, for the end of that trek. And essentially what one would have achieved is, having walked from the north to the south coast, having taken in the full width of our county at a point where it's not particularly slim, which is an achievement in itself, and all said and done, 28.5 miles will be under one's belt, having enjoyed, I hasten to add, given our geography here, not flat land. It's going to be a little bit, we'll call it undulating, but the reward, that sense of accomplishment in having done this thing, which is so extraordinary, it is going to be massive. And I think the real beauty of this is it's something we can deliver ourselves, and it's amenable to people, so there's no time lost in the office, those sorts of things. It's a really sort of inclusive aspect, and we're really very excited on this. We tried it virtually 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and with good success, but this is obviously within the confines of COVID. And what we wanted to do is to elevate that now and take that from this sort of semi-virtual offering into something that we could deliver and enjoy with people, and allow them an element of self-navigation, but yet check in so that they'll come to us at various points, and just have that first sort of taste of trekking, whet the appetite before other things may come up on the horizon at a later date. But we're very much hoping that this will be a sort of a fixture on the calendar for the years ahead, and we're really quite excited to see how that goes. And I think additionally to this, the ability to affordability is key. There's a £29 entry fee with £250 minimum sponsorship, so reasonable, achievable, but also making a real tangible difference to the care and support that we offer out of our hospices. The flip side of that is we have the option for you to pay for yourself to go, which is £89. So you don't have to do any fundraising on that, but obviously we'd like you to do it as well. So quite inclusive for people of all ages, and there's obviously an expectation of training required to achieve 28.5 miles over 2 days, but we're very excited. We're very, very excited. I think generally we're going to be having arguments in the team as to who's going to be working it, if I'm really honest. So, yeah, very much fun. Good
But
fun.
it's a great way to cut your teeth. If you don't want to go mad and immediately go off to Iceland or Sweden or wherever,
Absolutely.
or to Everest Base Camp, you can do this first. I find, is symbiosis the right word, between that experience of doing something extraordinary and then the care on the front line really fascinating?
I think there's probably a PhD in there somewhere, aren't there, guys, really? I think probably a joint, fundraising and that kind of, background with that clinical element. I think there are probably lots of similarities, and I think sometimes it doesn't really matter where you go, does it, that you have to find your own bit of peace or your own bit of reflection. And I think, that's what we're trying to do all the time, is to get that balance right.
And interestingly, one of our new community services is this walk, talk, Kerno, where you can go for a walk with other people who might have been bereaved or whatever. All these things do grow out of that one sense of adventure, or sense of going out, getting away, and having physical adventure in a way.
I think you're right. I think actually that being outdoors and being in different environments, I think is it all helps to help people just think about what they've got, where they are at the minute, and also I think there's something like walking, where you're walking alongside rather than having to actually sit opposite a table with somebody and have a forced conversation. You marry that up with what you're noticing, and actually it deepens that kind of that relationship. I think it's hugely valuable. But it sounds like a fantastic trek option, domestic trek. Which I shall have to get out of the running around the kitchen kind of thing.
You need to get ready to stop saying that.
There's a whole trek in itself. Actually, if I classed housework as a
domestic trek,
I might actually do it. Well, thank you, Oli, for joining us and exploring trekking in whatever form it is. Good to see you, Gina. And if you want to know more about a trekking or adventure that would in some way support your local hospice, then go to the websites of Cornwall Hospice Care or Highland Hospice or Strathcarron Hospice, and you can see all the events that are going on and how you can support those hospices. Or indeed, if you're listening somewhere else, look for the local hospice to you and you'll be able to find out on the website what's going on. You've been listening to Two Old Choughs, a tale of two hospices, and I'd like to thank all my fellow trekkers and say hello from down south to Strathcarron and Highland hospices up in the north.